לשנה טובה תיקתבו, לשנה טובה תיקתבו, תיקתבו ותיחתמו. לשנה טובה תיקתבו, לשנה טובה תיקתבו, תיקתבו ותיחתמו.
Shana Tova. In case the mask makes it a little bit difficult to tell, I'm Rabbi Ahuva, and we still have our cantor, Uri Barnea, and Patricia on piano tonight, as we've had for many years. Excited to be celebrating a new year, a new chance, a new approach in life. And before we begin our service, I'd like to invite up our president, Lori Weinberg, to share a brief message.
There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Keep your eyes on the road ahead. But if you're feeling lost in the night, it's okay to cry, just as long as you hold your head, because we're on our way to better. Better's ahead, better's ahead. Aunt Clemens from the song Better Days. We have all faced a wide range of feelings, loss, fear, helplessness, the list goes on, during these past many months as we wonder how long it will take to finally return to a normal way of life. The rabbi led an excellent discussion around the Torah portion at the end of July in which he focused on 3 words: fear, anger, and gratitude. Sentiments shared in that discussion resonated with me as I reflected on my personal anger, fear, and gratitude during the pandemic and other world troubles. During these holiday services, I would like to focus on words that create a picture of the ways in which Orameans remain strong and resilient, and for which I am grateful. Connection. I am so grateful for the feeling of connection at Orame, which shows up in small ways, like meeting the few folks who joined us for the Wandering Jews walking group in Maymont Park, and in big ways, like our recent successful yard sale organized by Joel Moses, which brought many new and longtime members together safely outside to set up, work the sale, and clean up. What a wonderful opportunity for the volunteers to socialize and make connections. I also celebrate the fact that more than 25 new families joined Orame this past year. Perhaps the rabbi's sermons or Rachel's beautiful singing and unforgettable delivery of weekly announcements called to them. Whatever the reason, the new families connected with our congregation and found a spiritual home. I have already had the opportunity to meet some of you, and I look forward to getting to know all of you. Torah study continues to meet every Saturday, in person and virtually. The Orame Book Club hums along with their monthly Zoom discussions, and Beer and Me has been going strong even on Zoom. We've adapted and remain a connected community. Justice. In addition to the personal connections, I am grateful for Orame's commitment to the values we hold so dear to our hearts at Orame. Social action, which is at the heart of Orame, continues to work towards justice in our community. Under the direction of Marilyn Breslow, we continue to share our voices at risk, Richmonders involved to strengthen our communities, with this year's focus on eviction and gun control. Social Action also participated in the Crop Walk, a multi-faith hunger initiative to raise money to feed the community. Laura Horowitz continues to coordinate our work with the Home Again Men's Shelter, which prepares monthly meals for men in the shelter. Last fall, our OD Youth Group joined with Social Action to prepare backpacks for local refugee families. In May, 2 speakers joined us at Shabbat services to raise awareness of the challenges of race and mental health. More recently, in response to the crisis in Afghanistan and the temporary resettlement of refugees at Fort Lee, Orame has joined with other local congregations in the Islamic Center of Richmond to assist these refugees. Marilyn has a handout, I think she put them on everyone's chair, people who are here tonight, that lists the different agencies that assist refugees once they've been settled into our community. This information will also be included in the weekly update. Just as many of you reached out to our Russian Jewish refugees, Vietnamese refugees, and other refugee groups over the years, we hope that some of you will help to welcome our newest Afghan neighbors. Safety. There is more behind-the-scenes work that is worthy of gratitude. We have remained focused not only on our health, but also on our safety. A big shout out is in order to Marcy Horowitz, who worked tirelessly to get a $42,000 security grant. The facilities team, under the direction of Bruce Gould and our security expert, Jeff Haken, have been busy making improvements of all kinds around Oromie, and I think we can all be thankful knowing that we are taking the necessary steps to keep our building and members as safe as possible. Commitment. A special thanks to our Avodah committee under the leadership of Alan and Amy Arkava for organizing services this year in these most uncertain of times. This includes making it possible to have Cantor Ori Barnea here among us again, all the way from Montana. We're so happy to have you here, Cantor. Thank you also to Patricia Schrock for returning as our accompanist, and of course, thank you, Renee Gould, for your hard work in lining up readers and figuring out the logistics of these services. Generosity. Our finance team, under Alex Woolman's and now Ed Kaufman's leadership, coordinated the 2 campaigns we waged this year. First, we paid off the mortgage thanks to our generous members, and then we raised enough money to recarpet and repaint the sanctuary and hallway. I am truly grateful to the generosity of our members to have made this happen in such a difficult year. And I thank Alex and his team, including Pat Doninger, our stellar bookkeeper, for their hard behind-the-scenes work. Then there were the 3 guys in a truck. Thank you, Bruce, Jeff, and John, who drove down to North Carolina to bring back a donated lectern and reader's table from Rabbi Ahuva's high school, which we are using tonight. This was not a simple jaunt down the road and a chance for 3 guys to bond. This lectern is really heavy, and I don't encourage anyone here to try to lift it. This truly demonstrated the length to which people will go to make our beloved rabbi happy. Our members' financial commitment to Oromie extends into the future through our Life and Legacy program for afterlife giving. While our pace of new commitments has slowed down since the first few years of the program, I remain grateful to all those who have invested in our Jewish community for generations to come. As we start a new and another unusual year, I would like to ask for your continued financial support. We look forward to the time when we can all gather together again in person. Whether you're here tonight in person or virtually, remember the feeling you have in your heart as we recite prayers and sing together as a spiritual community. If you are able, I hope that you will consider continuing to make a commitment to the Jewish people and to our Oromie community. For those who can, we hope that you will consider making a donation to our High Holy Day Fund. Board member Margaret Sequeira will be hosting a virtual oneg after services. We hope that you will join us, perhaps with a honey or apple cake. We will gather again tomorrow morning in person and via live stream at 10:30. Tomorrow afternoon, there will be an outdoor family service at 4 o'clock here at Oromie. The family service is open to both members and non-members. To conclude, I return to the lyrics of Aunt Clemens. You feel weak, just be strong. Deep breath, stay calm. If you press on, press on, press on, you're going to see there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Keep your eyes on the road ahead. I thank each and every one of you for making Oromie a Kahila Kedusha. Please stay safe. Lashana Tova.
Thank you, Lori, for a beautiful message. We begin our service together on page 1 with the responsive reading at the top of the page. And if you're participating from home, hopefully you can find the PDF copy of the prayer book from our email this morning. Awaken. It is the time to begin. It is the time to begin anew. It is the time to begin and renew ourselves.
Rosh Hashanah is the
A journey seeking inner peace, a journey inward to ourselves and outward to others. A community of searching souls drawing closer together in our spiritual quest. I'd like to invite up Grace to light our holiday candles.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, של יום הזיכרון. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Amen.
In ancient days, the psalmist asked, "From whence does my help come?" And the answer was, "My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth."
אשא עיני אל ההרים, מאין יבוא עזרי. אשא עיני אל ההרים, מאין יבוא עזרי. עזרי מעם אדוני, עושה שמים וארץ. עזרי מעם אדוני, עושה שמים וארץ.
I'd like to invite up our readers, Dr. Jeffrey Lacker and Lisa Halberstadt.
A midrash. A king's son was at a distance of 100 days' journey from his father. His friends said to him, "Return to your father." He said to them, "I cannot."
His father sent for him and said, "Go as far as you are able, and I shall come the rest of the way to you."
In the same way, the Jewish people are granted the opportunity to return to God so that God may return to them.
Thus the Holy One, blessed be God, said to Israel, "Return unto me, and I will return unto you."
We continue responsively in the middle of page 3. Today, our journey covers ground we have traveled before, but now with fresh steps and firm resolve, we seek new ways to bridge the distance between ourselves and God. Let us start the journey to put our lives in order. Let us move forward to rebuild our community and extend our communal work to repair the world.
Let us look around with vision and intent to
Let us trust in the voice that says, return, strive towards a meeting with God.
As we struggle to make this spiritual journey, let us remember that the celebration of Rosh Hashanah is so important that God commands it to us twice in the Torah. In Leviticus we read, Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the Israelite people thus, in the 7th month, on the 1st day of the month, you shall observe complete rest, a sacred occasion commemorated with loud blasts."
We hear the message yet again in Numbers. In the 7th month, on the 1st day of the month, you shall observe a sacred occasion. You shall not work at your occupations. You shall observe it as a day when the shofar is sounded.
For us, no less than for our ancestors, our journey on this Rosh Hashanah must begin with resting from work and listening to the sound of the shofar. But this is only the beginning of our spiritual journey. We gain strength in our struggle as we recall that our ancestors made a similar quest.
Let the echoes of the psalmist from an earlier time help guide us along our way. Who may sojourn in your tent? Who may dwell on your holy mountain?
One who lives without blame, who does what is right, and in his heart acknowledges the truth. Who may ascend Adonai's mountain? Who may stand within your holy place?
One
who has clean hands and a pure heart, who is not vain and swears not deceitfully.
This one will receive a blessing and justice from Adonai. Such is the generation of those who seek the presence of the God of Jacob.
Let me know your paths. Guide me in your true ways and teach me. Your love reaches to the heavens. Your righteousness is like the high mountains. Your justice is like the great deep. My heart is firm. I will sing. I will chant a hymn.
I will sing a hymn to you among the nations, for your faithfulness reaches to the sky.
Sound the shofar when the new moon appears, at the turning of the year, at the returning of our solemn celebration. For this is a statute binding on Israel, an ordinance of the God of Jacob.
תקעו בחודש שופר, בכסל יום חגנו, כי כל ישראל הוא משפט לאלוהי יעקב, משפט לאלוהי יעקב.
And so, with fervor, we come together to welcome the new year, to celebrate its promise, to ponder its responsibilities.
Let us give thanks for the opportunities this new year brings us, for the new and deeper relationships it offers us, and for our partnership with the divine.
Our journey edges us closer to the foundation of our tradition. Praying together unwinds the sacred chain spiraling back to our ancestors and reaching out to future generations.
A voice both within and around us calls on us to repeat the time-honored praises for Adonai, our God.
Please rise for the official call to worship. Baruch Hu on page 7.
Baruch Hu, et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai, Amen.
praise you, God, whose word brings on the evening, whose wisdom opens heaven's gates. You make day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness away from light. We praise you, Adonai, whose word makes evening fall.
Unending love have you shown us. Laws and commandments have you taught us. Therefore, we will reflect upon your teachings and rejoice in your law. May the knowledge of your love never depart from our hearts.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Abed.
Please be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ug'shartam leot ayadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam umezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti adchem me'eretz Mitzrayim Lehiyot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. I'd like to invite up our next set of readers, Joel Moses and Marilyn Breslow.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Sinai's foot.
Wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt. There is a better place, a promised land. The winding way to our promised land passes through the wilderness.
There is no way to get from here to there, except by joining hands marching together.
מי כמוך באלים, אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק בימינו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
Our world is not always a friendly place. Wars have scarred its landscape and scorched its cities.
Enslaved in Egypt, persecuted by inquisitors and tsars, pushed into diaspora, synagogues vandalized and burned, innocent lives destroyed, whole communities annihilated.
We
To
survive,
we choose, we survive.
Having lived safely through dark times, let us say a prayer of peace.
Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Vehamidenu Malkeinu Malkeinu Lechaim Ufros Aleinu Sukat Shalom Metaknenu B'etzat Tova Milfanecha Hoshienu leman shemecha.
Just as the Baruch Hu and the Shema connect us with God and the Jewish people throughout the ages, the Avot Ve'imahot honors the relationship God formed with our parents and theirs, going back to ancient times. We praise God as we remember the faithfulness of our forefathers and mothers, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, and Rachel. Please rise for the Amidah, the Avot Ve'imahot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka Elohei Leah v'Elohei Rachel Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לפני בניהם למען שמו באהבה.
זוכרנו לחיים מלך חפץ בחיים וכותבנו בספר החיים למענך אלוהים חיים.
מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן Baruch atah Adonai Hagin B'ezrat Sarah. Please be seated.
Every Shabbat, we are commanded to set the words of Torah on our heart, to stamp its mitzvot on the core of our being. Every Shabbat, we open the book to a new page. Every page, whether empty or full, shows much of ourselves, who we are, what we think, why we believe, and how we care for others.
As the pages gather throughout the year, they become a reckoning of what each of us has done. Rosh Hashanah is the time to collect them into a judgment. Who is foolish and who is wise? Who is evil and who is good? Who is selfish and who is caring?
Rosh Hashanah, our mitzvot and our misdeeds are recorded in the book of life.
Where
Are
an
we
old
open or a closed book? Have
Have
we
we
the
the
freedom
freedom
to
to
choose
choose
how
how
we
we
act? Is our destiny preordained and
choice
the choice itself
an
an
illusion?
illusion? Let us turn to the teachings of the medieval philosopher and sage Moses Maimonides for an answer. God bestows free will on every human being. If one desires to turn toward the good way and be righteous, one has the power to do so. If one wishes to turn toward the evil way and be wicked, one wrestles with the liberty to do so.
Torah provides the divine injunction to do good deeds. It is up to us to find and follow the true path or to stray from it. To this end, we are the authors of our lives.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adom lechol hashalom. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת וכל שעה בשלומך. בספר חיים ברכה ושלום, ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה, ברכה ושלום. ניזכר וניכתב לפניך, אנחנו בכל ביתך בית ישראל, לחיים טובים ולשלום. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום.
Teshuvah, Hitchadshut, Geula. Reopening the book of life to our shortcomings puts us on the path to betterment. Teshuvah, repentance, is the first major step on this path. We confront our mistakes in order to correct them. We begin this momentous task by reciting together the Avinu Malkeinu, the ancient prayer of our people. Please rise as the ark is opened for Avinu Malkeinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol aleinu. Ve'alol aleinu, Metahapeinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Kale dever ve'cherev rav, מעלינו. אבינו מלכנו, קהל כל צר ומסתים מעלינו. אבינו מלכנו, אבינו מלכנו, כותבנו בספר חיים טובים. אבינו מלכנו, חדש עלינו, חדש עלינו, שנה טובה. אבינו מלכנו, חוננו בנינו. אבינו מלכנו, חוננו בנינו, כי אין בנו מעשים. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד מהושיענו. אבינו מלכנו, חוננו בנינו. אבינו מלכנו, חוננו בנינו, כי אין בנו מעשים.
Please be seated. There once was a bright young man named Yosef who struggled a great deal in his childhood. Yosef's father was a poor farmer who passed away when he was just 7 years old, and his mother suffered from a chronic illness that would frequently leave her unable to get out of bed. Yosef and his mother never knew if the next day would be one where she could function, or if Yosef would have to manage his mother's responsibilities on top of his own work on the farm. Yosef tried to handle the unpredictability in his life by always mentally preparing for the worst-case scenario. But this way of thinking left him feeling exhausted and disconnected from the good things in this world. Yosef almost missed the opportunity of a lifetime when he received unexpectedly good news. During a chance meeting with a wealthy traveling scholar, Yosef was given a literal and metaphorical ticket out of his challenging life circumstances. The scholar, who was not able to have any children of his own, offered to sponsor Yosef's education at the yeshiva in the next town. Yosef was stunned by the kindness of this stranger. He had always dreamed of getting an education. After taking a minute to process this incredibly generous offer, he thanked the scholar profusely. But shortly after their conversation, Yosef was struck with panic. What about his mother? Who would take care of her when she couldn't get out of bed? Yosef went home and found his mother sleeping. When she awoke, Yosef described the conversation with the Torah scholar and told his mother that he was going to have to decline the offer after all. She scolded him for even thinking of throwing away this opportunity and insisted that her sister, Yosef's aunt, could come care for her so that he could get an education. When the day came for Yosef to begin his studies, Yosef still felt torn about leaving home. But in his first shiur, or lecture class, Yosef cried tears of joy upon hearing his teacher share a profound insight about the Torah. His mother was right. This was the opportunity of a lifetime. Learning brought Yosef so much joy. There were only 2 other things at the yeshiva that brought Yosef more joy than learning. The first was the holiday of Purim, which always meant a ruckus celebration with his fellow students. The second was when his classmates would get married. Absolutely nothing topped the profound joy of dancing at their weddings. On these days of great joy, no one would have ever suspected that Yosef was struggling with sadness and fear. Yosef had a radiant smile that masked his internal anguish. Despite being one of the brightest and hardest working students at the yeshiva, Yosef often felt like an unworthy imposter. His biggest fear was that one day, the wealthy scholar sponsoring his yeshiva education would realize that he had made a mistake, that Yosef did not deserve this life after all. Yosef's early life experiences made it difficult for him to ever really feel secure. Yosef always worried that at any moment, things could change and cause him to lose everything. One day, Yosef found it too difficult to hide his despair. Tears fell from his face onto the page of Talmud he was studying with his chavruta, or study partner. Yosef's study partner was concerned and said he needed to speak with the Rebbe, who many believed could perform miracles. When it came time to meet with the Rebbe, Yosef found it difficult to speak. But the Rebbe kept asking Yosef questions while stroking his beard calmly until they got to the heart of the matter. "I'm pained by the tremendous uncertainty in life," said Yosef. "Every night I struggle to fall asleep as I wonder if my mother will be okay tomorrow. I am afraid that I will have to leave the yeshiva and never be able to return to my studies. I worried that I won't ever find someone to marry like all my friends at yeshiva are now doing. I am also terrified that I will die young just like my father did." "Your heart, Yosele, is overflowing with anxiety," responded the Rebbe. Yosef nodded. "Yes, that was the word." "Have you tried praying?" asked the Rebbe. Yosef said he was diligent about attending communal prayer services 3 times a day. "Yes, but have you prayed any of your own prayers from the heart?" asked the Rebbe. Yosef shook his head. "Pray tonight from the heart," said the Rebbe. Yosef then thanked the Rebbe for his advice, and that night he poured out his heart in prayer. Yosef cried as he described all of his anxieties and begged God for some kind of certainty in life. When Yosef awoke the next morning, he had a strange headache. At first, he thought it might be from crying so much the night before. He hoped that attending the shiur or lecture class would lift his spirits and help his head to feel better. Unfortunately, when Yosef sat in his shiur, his head began to throb even more. As the teacher spoke beautiful words of Torah, Yosef had a strange feeling of déjà vu. Even though Yosef had not taken a class on this topic before, he somehow already knew what the teacher was going to say, word for word. Yosef wondered if he was losing his mind, especially when the same thing happened in conversations with his study partner. At first, it was startling, then kind of amusing. But before long, it became depressing to know exactly what others were going to say before they even said it. The joy of learning was gone. Not only did Yosef know what everyone was going to say in class that day, he also started having disturbingly clear visions of the future. One of these visions came to him later that month when he was attending his friend's wedding. Normally, Yosef was overjoyed at weddings, but this time he was overwhelmed with sadness. As his friend stood under the chuppah with his beautiful bride, another vision entered Yosef's mind. It was of his friend, only a few years older than now, handing a divorce document to his wife. With that sad image in his mind, Yosef found it impossible to dance with his yeshiva friends at the wedding. The joy of weddings was gone too. It wasn't long after that Yosef's favorite holiday of Purim came around. As Yosef was listening to the Megillah, he experienced another vision of the future. It also took place on Purim. A few of his classmates were standing around him, looking about 6 decades older than they were on that day. Yosef saw a man on the ground, then realized that man was none other than himself. In this vision, he had collapsed and died on Purim. Great! Now Yosef couldn't even enjoy his favorite holiday anymore because he knew that he would die on this day 60 years from now. Yosef asked his study partner if he ever had visions of the future. His study partner said he had dreams of getting married, having children, and becoming a great scholar. But those were all just hopes, not even goals toward which he was working at the moment. Yosef realized that his study partner had no idea what he was experiencing and wondered who he could talk to about these visions. Yosef was afraid of sounding like a madman, but he really needed to share this experience with someone. So he asked to speak with the Rebbe yet again. As in their first meeting, the Rebbe listened while stroking his beard calmly. He asked many questions until he got to the heart of the matter. The first time we spoke, Yosele, you told me of the pain you experienced from all of life's uncertainties. That pain has disappeared, as you now know exactly what to expect in life. But today you are describing the pain of having too much certainty. You know everything that will happen long before it happens and have been robbed of life's mysteries. Yosef nodded. Yes, that's exactly what happened. What do I do? Yosef asked the Rebbe. Have you tried praying? Really praying from the heart? Asked the Rebbe. Yosef shook his head. I will pray tonight. That night, Yosef prayed from the depths of his heart and soul. He cried out to God and expressed the anguish he felt from knowing everything in advance. I don't want to know the future. I miss the little surprises in life each day. Please, God, please give me a chance to live a normal life again. The next morning, Yosef woke up. Despite crying the night before, his head felt surprisingly fine. When he went to class, the teacher shared a teaching that Yosef had never heard before. I have no idea what our teacher's talking about, said Yosef to his study partner while smiling. Is that a reason to smile? Asked his study partner. Yes, said Yosef. I am so blessed to be able to learn something new. A week later, Yosef was invited to attend yet another wedding. As guests wished the couple a long and happy marriage, Yosef realized that he had no idea what this couple's future would look like. He also had no idea if he would ever find his own soulmate. Normally, those realizations might bring a melancholy feeling, but Yosef was still overjoyed to not know everything the future held. And when Purim came around again, Yosef was no longer haunted by visions of his demise. Instead, he put on a silly hat and grinned from ear to ear. He was alive now. Life was good in this moment, and that moment was all he needed. Over the past year, many of us have been struggling with the uncertainties of life. Like Yosef, we have felt uneasy about all of the unknowns. We have tried to make plans only to have them change and change again. There has been so much confusion, fear, and anger that many of us are simply exhausted at this point. This is now our second Rosh Hashanah in the pandemic. We have entered the Jewish year of 5782 and are on our way to the secular year of 2022. But many people feel like the past year has been one long and bizarre continuation of March 2020. We are tired of living under such stressful conditions and wondering when this pandemic will finally come to an end. I so wish I could give you the answer to this question like the magical Rebbe in Yosef's story. I would love nothing more than to give you a clear vision of the day on which the pandemic is finally over. If we could know definitively that the pandemic will be over next Tuesday at 4 p.m., getting through each day between now and then would be so much easier. But part of what makes this moment so challenging is that we lack the answers and sense of control that we seek. Even using the best mathematical models available, our predictions about the future still tend to be inaccurate. We cannot know the future because there is an element of mystery in life that we simply cannot calculate. The best thing we can do at this point is learn to live with uncertainty. Uncertainty has always been a part of life, but the pandemic has really thrown this fact in our faces. Now it's up to us to decide how we deal with this reality. Some have resorted to denial, but being that Rosh Hashanah is called Yom Hadin, or the Day of Judgment, it's probably best for us to take this sacred time to face the truth. Luckily, we have each other, so we don't have to face this challenge alone. we also have a number of spiritual and psychological tools that we can use to make this journey easier. I'm going to share 3 of these tools now as part of a 3-step process. The first step to living with uncertainty is acknowledging the uncertainty in our lives and how it makes us feel. Like Yosef, we are likely to feel better if we simply name the problem by saying something like, I'm feeling frustrated by all of the uncertainty. I like to have a plan, but I don't even know what to plan for at this moment. Or, I'm scared that I might get sick and infect my loved ones. This ever-present possibility is terrifying and exhausting, especially when we don't know for sure what the outcome of an infection would be. It could be devastating or insignificant or somewhere in between. The second step, after acknowledging the uncertainty and its impact on our lives, is reminding ourselves that we are not totally helpless. Just as we recognize that some things are out of our control, we must remind ourselves of the things that are in our control. For example, we may not be able to control whether someone else wears their mask properly in a public space, but we can still control or determine what sort of mask we will wear to maximize our personal safety. Some of us may also have moments where our anxiety feels out of control. At such times, we can regain a sense of control by taking a moment to pray or meditate. Even just becoming aware of our breath can help us to take back a sense of calm, control, and peace. The third step we can take is actively remembering times of uncertainty that we survived in the past. If we think about it, we probably have at least one personal experience of not knowing what to expect, but still making it through a new and challenging situation. But even if we don't have many personal experiences like that, we may find it helpful to consider collective experiences. We might even recall the old joke that most Jewish holidays have the same basic premise of, they tried to kill us, we survived, no, let's eat. Our spiritual ancestors had to make it through a time of uncertainty before there could be a time of celebration. The Jewish calendar reminds us time and time again that our people got to that point of celebration. Even as we recall the hardships of the past, we are reminded to keep that hope alive for the future. The past year may have made us all a bit cynical, but this eternal hope is not delusional. It's based on truth. If we look into Jewish history, a terrible plague affected the disciples of Rabbi Akiva, but it eventually came to an end and gave us the holiday of Lag BaOmer. The bubonic plague and 1918 flu also both came to an end. Knowledge of these events can give us hope based in reality that there will come a day when this current challenge will be over, even if we don't know exactly when that day will be. May we learn from Yosef's story that it's okay to live with uncertainty and not know exactly what the future will bring. Let us enter this new year of 5782 with a deeper appreciation for the many mysteries of life and an inextinguishable hope that we will find many future moments and reasons to celebrate again. Shana Tova.
Retzei Adonai Eloheinu Me'amecha Yisrael Lo tefilatam me'ahavam tekabel Ratzon Tamid Avodat Yisrael Yisrael Hamecha וקוראיו, הנה לעבדיך וכוננו. שפוך רוחך עלינו, ותחזינה עינינו, משובך לציון. ברחמים, ברוך אתה, אדוני, המחזיר שכינתו לציון.
We continue our service with Aleinu on page 15. Please rise for the Aleinu prayer.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, היום ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני
As we savor the joy and promise of the new year, a trace of sorrow settles in our hearts. We move ahead in our lives, knowing the lives of some loved ones have ended.
What of those I know, remember by touch and sight, by story and fable? What of those I love, caress, watch grow, watch come and go?
Only here and now? Am I only here and now? No.
I extend through past and future, space and time. I extend into the past part of me in those I have lost.
Part of me in
In their joys, in their sorrows, in their gains, in their losses.
I extend through space, through time, in those not still living who I still love. I am here. I am now. Part of me hand in hand. Part of me not forgiven. Still sharing.
At this point in our service, we think of loved ones who have passed away recently or at this time in years past. Tonight, we remember with love the Artsites, Phyllis Bloomberg, aunt of Judy Nelson, Anne Feinmill, grandmother of Nancy Nelson, Betty Flato, longtime member of ORME, Mildred Kaufman, aunt of Ed Kaufman, Ann Schulman, aunt of Judy Katzen, Sidney Schwartz, father of Fran Seiden, Isidore Simonoff, father of Jerry Simonoff, and Victor Sporn, father of Amy Miller. If there are other loved ones you wish to remember tonight, please share their name aloud or in the comments section.
Marilyn's aunt, Harriet Dwartz.
Zichronam livracha, may their memories always be a blessing. We continue with the Mourners Kaddish together as a community on page 17. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah,
Amen.
be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar, v'yitale, v'yithalal, shmei dekudusha, b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Ehei shlam rabba min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, Imru. Amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort for all who are bereaved, and let us say, Amen. Please be seated. Days of work, days of rest, trials that test our inner being and challenge our inner peace. Blessings of home, love, and friendship, life, health, and strength. For these, all these, O God, we bless this cup and taste this sweet wine.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Bore peri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher bachar banu mikol ha'am, ורוממנו מכל לשון, וקידשנו במצוותיו. ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה את יום הזיכרון הזה, יום תרועה, מקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ודברך אמת מקיים לעד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל ביום הזיכרון. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. אמן. לחיים.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. We have gone down the road together, pausing to reflect on what it means to embrace the spirit of renewal. The words that we have set in our hearts today must not be forgotten. We must bring these words to the world beyond the sanctuary, to hammer them on the doorposts and gates where we live.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Please rise for our closing benediction. Our God and God of our ancestors, eternal God of all generations, may your presence in our lives this new year renew our spirits and renew our strength. May it be a good year. May it be a sweet year. Lishana tova tikatevu v'techatemu. May you be inscribed and sealed in the book of life for a good year. Amen.
Amen.
This concludes our Rosh Hashanah evening service. Look forward to seeing you again in the morning. Shana Tova.
This copy that has our, it's missing the last page.
I was like, oh no.
All of a sudden. Well, I found out
It might have
another
happened.
reason why it's good to have a mask. And Harry was very dear to both of us. And so my nose was dripping.
Gotta add a few more obstacles and challenges.
Right. Yeah, she just died last week.
So on our trip to the Berkshires, we went through New Jersey on the way back, and
I'll be 15 minutes after that, but only if I need whatever.
You are so beautiful. Thank you.
Nice message. Nice message.
Thank you. We're so glad you're back. I mean, you were here last year, but in a different world.
Yeah, the world of what do you call it?
Virtual weirdness.
Yes.
So, are you fine in your place, in your hotel? Everything's
Yeah, well, hotel is a hotel. We had rowdy people there who, I think they're all gone now. There was a group of, I don't know if you know, there was a big soccer tournament here from Sudan. Like 500 people from Sudan. No kidding. And they partied all night in the hall, and I couldn't get sleep.
Yeah, you know what they say, no one parties like the
Oh my
Sudanese.
God, it was
I guess so, right?